Live TV from 85 plus channels with local sports and news. YouTube TV. Try it free.
Hey you! Tell me, are you satisfied?
Jay was driving his Model 3 with autopilot engaged in Dublin, Ohio, when he came to a complete stop at a red light after exiting the highway. A woman coming over the hill didn't notice the light and smashed into Jay's Tesla at about 70 miles per hour. Jay says that autopilot did alert him before the impact, but there was nothing he or autopilot could do to prevent it. The vehicles rolled a short distance after the impact before coming to a complete stop again. Even though none of the Tesla's airbags went off, both Jay and his passenger were alright. Jay jumped out to help the woman out of her car when he noticed she was trapped in her vehicle's airbags. She was okay, and with his help, she managed to get out of her car. The Tesla was leaking an unknown fluid, and the vehicle went into emergency mode, which ended with it shutting down. Tesla called Jay's phone 2 minutes later, but at the time, he was busy talking to the woman and the police. Both cars were completely totaled and had to be hauled away on tow trucks. Even though they both were customers of the same insurance company, there was a battle of almost 2 months before the company paid out. Jay's insurance agent told him that having the video as evidence that he was completely stopped was very helpful for his claim. He had a stealth Model 3 performance, and unfortunately the insurance company didn't know how to value it correctly. The entire car ended up being replaced, but not until Jay fought for them to replace his full paint protection car wrap, which took about 2 months to approve. This situation shows just how important it is to have the right insurance coverage. That's why we've teamed up with Way as our sponsor. With the Way app, you can benchmark your car insurance against over 50 different insurance companies. Use the code WHAMBAM when applying for a free insurance quote, and you'll get a $10 voucher to use in the app for insurance, parking, or a car wash. Thanks to Way for supporting the channel. John was driving his Model 3 in Falls Church, Virginia, just outside of DC, when a Ford driver in front of him slammed on the brakes. John managed to react in time, but the Honda behind him wasn't so skilled. The force of the impact pushed John's Tesla into the Ford, sandwiching him between the two vehicles. Hashtag Honda Bump. Before we continue, take a look at this freeze frame. That's a pretty crappy business slogan. An insurance claim was filed and police were notified. The Honda driver took full responsibility. John got a repair estimate the day after the incident for $3,000, but 1 day later, the body shop contacted him with a new estimate of $7,000. The next day, he got yet another estimate for $20,000. The 4th day after the accident, they contacted him again to let him know the estimate now totaled $24,000. At that point, the vehicle was considered a total loss. We speculate that the chassis must have been bent, because from the outside, the damage doesn't look that bad. What's your theory? Share it in the comments. Sam was driving his Model X in Austin, Texas, when a blue Nissan Sentra merged onto the highway. The Nissan then rear-ended an SUV in front of him, which was slowing down for traffic up ahead. Maybe the Nissan driver was checking his blind spot as he was changing lanes and was busy looking behind rather than ahead? Okay, that's enough rear-end accidents. Let's cheer things up a bit with some dancing. For this dance, we have to slow down the music a bit. There we go, perfect. Jean-Guy had parked his Tesla in his own parking spot in a garage in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. One morning, he found that Sentry Mode had recorded an event. Here's what he found when he played back the video. His parking neighbor apparently just learned what Tesla Sentry Mode is and decided to try it out. Jean-Guy adds that this gentleman is around 80 years old, but he's still young at heart.
Try online work and project calendars. Unlike traditional calendars, Wrike calendars are directly connected to projects and tasks. They always reflect your most up-to-date plans and schedules. Plan, visualize, and share work. Try Wrike calendars for free.
Hunter from Alice Springs in the Northern Territory of Australia sent us video clips of 2 incidents that happened on the same street. In the first clip, he was leaving a parking lot after finishing some shopping. At a T intersection, he came across this twin cab driver who was on his phone. Luckily, they both managed to stop in time and an accident was avoided. In the next video, he didn't have as much luck. Hunter had parked his Model 3 on the very same street as in the last incident, in front of his colleague's Hyundai. That's when a distracted driver drifted for over 6 seconds before slamming into the Hyundai without even trying to slow down. This pushed the Hyundai into the Tesla. Some firefighters were right behind the offender and witnessed the whole thing. Only about a month earlier, Hunter had promised the fire department that he would show them the Tesla battery cutoff procedure, since he was one of the first in his town to own a Tesla. This wasn't exactly the situation he had in mind. Fortunately, the Tesla was repairable at a cost of 20,000 Australian dollars, since the offending driver had comprehensive insurance. It had to be shipped 1,500 kilometers to a repair center in Adelaide, South Australia, and it's expected to take 8 to 12 weeks to repair. Unfortunately, the Hyundai was totaled, as its damages were estimated at over 17,000 Australian dollars, more than the value of the vehicle. The offending driver claimed that the accident was caused by a mechanical failure. However, after the police reviewed the Tesla footage and surrounding street cam footage, it was determined that the accident was caused by the driver being distracted by her phone. In this enhanced still image taken from the rear-view camera, we can actually see her holding the phone in her hand above the steering wheel. Hunter adds that he wants to see the availability of parts and service from Tesla improve as Elon has promised. The main reason his repairs will take so long is because of how long the replacement parts will take to arrive from Tesla. He'd also like to see more charging infrastructure in Australia, as the number of Teslas in Australia is now 10 times what it was when he purchased his Model 3 only a year ago. This clip's submitter had parked his Model Y at a hiking trail parking area in Golden, Colorado. When he returned to his car, he found glass shattered all over the ground and this Sentry Mode recording. He left a note with his phone number on the victim's vehicle, letting them know that his Tesla had captured footage of the break-in. The police contacted him later to request the video, but he doesn't know if they ever caught the perpetrator. Todd and his wife were staying at We Casa Tiny House Resort in Lyons, Colorado. One morning, they discovered their Model 3 had captured this Sentry Mode recording. At first, they were a little confused about what was going on, but then they realized that this guy was just putting on a little dance routine. Rick was driving his Model Y out of South Beloit, Illinois, when he crossed the border into Wisconsin. Road conditions were poor, with rain followed by snow. This caused the roads to be extra slippery. When the road ahead of him curved, this Ford Fusion didn't, and it ended up crashing into a snowbank. Till was driving his Model 3 in a mountain pass in Switzerland when he encountered this fox family. One baby fox went off in a different direction from the others. In the left repeater camera, we can see that the parent closely watched where the baby went, so hopefully they were able to reunite quickly after Till had passed. Isaac was driving his Model 3 on US Route 101 in California. His cruise control was set to 70 miles per hour when he heard a car honking behind him. In his rearview mirror, he could see that the car was approaching fast. Startled, he thought the other driver was going to sideswipe him. Instead, the Honda barely missed him at speeds around 110 miles per hour. Isaac knew that at those speeds, the driver was going to injure someone or cause an accident. He continued driving, and 5 miles down the highway, the worst happened. Just as he suspected, the Honda had crashed. Isaac thinks that the car must have been going fast enough to roll over in the accident. His Tesla cam captured the accident scene as he drove by. Cars were stopped on both sides of the highway, and he noticed a man going back and forth across the highway. The man was screaming that someone was chasing him and that they were trying to shoot him, and that he wanted lots of witnesses around for his own safety. Suspecting he may have been under the influence of drugs, Isaac pulled out his phone to capture an audio recording. Let's listen in.
Help! Anyone that's not part of this, stay! I need witnesses! There need to be witnesses here! I'm found some people trying to shoot me! Please, stop!
He contacted the California Highway Patrol out of San Luis Obispo and sent them the video. Leo was driving his Model 3 in Taipei, Taiwan at about 2 a.m. He confesses that he was driving a little over the speed limit on the freeway. He thought he'd screwed up when he saw the warning lights of a patrol car in front of him. That's when he saw a vehicle driving in the opposite direction toward him. He slowed down immediately and kept a safe distance to let it pass, turning on his warning lights to notify other drivers. Later that day, he heard news that the female driver was mentally unstable. Law enforcement managed to stop her about 5 kilometers after she passed Leo. This is our first video from Poland. It's from Adam, who was driving his Model 3 when a Volkswagen driver decided to pull this move. On the side camera, we can see that the Tesla's mirror smashed the VW's mirror to pieces. The Tesla sustained damages to its mirror housing, along with body damage around the rear wheel. This video's submitter was driving his Model Y down Highway 401 near Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. He was driving along in the left lane when ice buildup from a trailer came flying into his path. He had to brake in order to avoid it hitting him directly in the windshield. We all remember what happens to unsinkable ships that hit icebergs, but we have to wonder how autopilot handles flying icebergs. On that note, it's time to wrap up this week's episode. See you all next Sunday.
Wham, bam, wham, bam, Tesla Cam. Come on! Wham, bam, wham, bam, Tesla Cam. Are you satisfied?
Vaclav was driving his Model 3 on the D1 motorway near Prague in the Czech Republic. Suddenly, a dog appeared right in front of him. The massive accident made news headlines, and now we get to show you the Tesla Cam footage. Unfortunately, there is some dirt on the front camera, but we can see him braking for the Opel in front of him. As he moves to the leftmost lane, the dog appears in the middle of the lane. That was when he felt the impact. From the rear-view camera, we can see that the other drivers slowed down significantly, all except for one, which hit the Opel in the middle lane at full speed. The resulting fire was quickly put out, and news reports stated that the fire only caused minor smoke damage to the cabin. We're not sure if that really matters in determining if these cars can be salvaged or if they're totaled. Thankfully, the frightened dog was taken to a shelter by some Good Samaritans. Phil was driving his Model 3 in Bexley, Ohio, when he stopped at an intersection notorious for red light runners. When the light turned green, the Chevy in front of Phil pulled into the intersection, and Phil wasn't surprised by what happened next. Luckily, there were no serious injuries, and the driver was able to immediately get out of his car. By the looks of it, he was pretty shocked by what had just happened. The red light runner pulled off to the side of the road and then returned to the scene. Phil offered the TeslaCam video to those involved in the accident. Sander from Norway sent us this video, and he was very insistent that we use his title of Lord. We aren't sure if this is a joke or if he really is Lord Sander from Norway, but here we go. Lord Sander was driving his 1-week-old Model 3 when he entered the largest roundabout in his city during rush hour. All of a sudden, he heard a loud boom. Did you see what happened there? Yeah, neither did he. Let's take another look in slow motion. What happened here is that this car is being towed by another car that's already made it through the roundabout. An unmarked tow line was stretched over the roundabout. Lord Sander hit the tow line straight on, and it drug all the way across his car before it finally snapped, causing extensive damage to his Tesla. He thinks this has got to be the longest tow rope in Norway, and maybe in the world. When he got out to talk with the driver, they were very upset that he had hit their tow line. At first, they didn't want to follow him to a nearby gas station to write an insurance report. He learned that the car being towed was uninsured and hadn't been registered. Lord Sander called the police, who were very happy that he'd saved the TeslaCam footage. His Tesla is currently in the shop to fix the side of the car, the front bumper, and damage to a wheel, as well as replacing a side window. Corey was driving his Model 3 in Sparks, Nevada, following behind another Model 3 when they both stopped at a red light. As the light turned green, he noticed a driver making a right turn without slowing down or yielding to traffic. Luckily, the other Tesla driver was paying attention and an accident was avoided. This is actually the second video we've received from Damon. In the first one he sent us, his Model 3 filmed a hit-and-run accident. This time, he'd parked his brand new Model S outside of his workplace. That's when this big semi-truck entered the small parking lot. The truck driver was being guided by a tire store representative where the semi was dropping something off. Apparently, the store employee used the wrong hand signals to tell the driver he was too close to the Tesla. The driver and the store employee argued for a few minutes. I'm guessing they had a disagreement about whose fault it was. The repair estimates were around $5,000 US. The car is still in the shop awaiting repairs because Tesla sent the wrong replacement parts to the repair shop, adding 2 weeks to the repair time so far. Damon says this must be the replacement parts nightmare that other Tesla owners talk about. Diane was charging her Tesla at a local mall in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, when something happened to her that seems to happen to all Tesla owners. Since a Tesla uses your phone as your car key, it sometimes loses its Bluetooth connection, or can be a little bit slow to connect to the car, so you have to reconnect the Bluetooth to unlock the car. This can be a little irritating, especially if you've forgotten the backup key card. The funny part of this story is that this is not Diane. This lady thought this was her Tesla and tried to pull out the charging plug and open the door to the wrong car. She didn't realize her own Tesla was right behind her with the mirrors unfolded and charging already stopped since she had already unlocked it with her phone. She didn't give up for a full 20 minutes trying to unlock the doors and end the charging. Later on, she returned and tried a few more times before leaving a long note for mall security. The note said that her charging was done, but she couldn't unlock the car to move it, and her husband was on his way with the key card. Diane says that she left before the woman's husband arrived to rescue her, but we can only imagine the look on her face when she realized her car was actually parked one spot over. Mark sent us this video of an incident his wife witnessed on her commute to work. In the rearview camera, we see a truck speeding and passing cars on the shoulder. Mark sent the video to the California Highway Patrol, and they informed him that the landscaping truck was stolen by a transient when it was left to warm up in Paso Robles, California. This footage was captured in San Luis Obispo, which is 35 miles south. The CHP told Mark they ended up chasing the truck, and the thief was caught in Santa Maria, another 30 miles south. Lucas had just merged onto I-95 from Sample Road in Pompano Beach, Florida, when he noticed a car in front of him swerve to avoid hitting something. Before he could react, he noticed a cat kicking up its legs in a panic. Lucas called his friend, who was a few cars behind, to tell him what he'd seen. His friend stopped to look for the cat, but someone else had already stopped and grabbed it. The cat was okay with all 9 of its lives intact. This video's submitter had parked his Model 3 in Brookings, South Dakota. When he got back, he was notified of this Sentry Mode event. Just as she takes the perfect photo with the Tesla logo in the background, the Tesla lasers go off. The Tesla is always watching. This next video from Greg in Newcastle, Australia proves that. His Model 3 was parked at a local shopping center when Sentry Mode caught this. We've got to say, that Tesla emblem seems to have magnetic power. Not on this guy though, he had something else in his sights. Nick was driving his Model Y in Arvada, Colorado. As he was merging into the left lane, the vehicle ahead of him braked quickly and a dog appeared out of nowhere. We've slowed down and rewatched this video many times, but we can't figure out where the dog came from. Nick believes it jumped out of the Subaru that hit it. Later down the road, we can see the dog running along the sidewalk. Nick says that the dog was later caught, but he's not sure if it sustained any injuries. We hope the little fella is okay. Super Mario Logan YTP is an 18-year-old YouTuber with almost 300,000 subscribers. He says he's watched the Wham Bam channel for a long time, and now he's got something to share. This happened just 2 weeks after he got his Tesla. There was severe weather that day as he was getting off the Pennsylvania Turnpike near Monroeville, Pennsylvania. That's when a Jaguar merged into his lane before slamming the brakes in front of him. He tried to brake to avoid an accident, but the Tesla started sliding on ice. He had to swerve into the other lane where he started sliding toward the guardrail, but luckily he managed to save it and got back in the lane. Austin was driving his 2015 Model S in Colorado. He sent us the video from his aftermarket Blackview dashcam since his Tesla doesn't have the TeslaCam feature. In fact, Austin even shared this video from the dashcam's online cloud storage. We can't wait until Tesla rolls that feature out for TeslaCam. Austin was driving along when a car suddenly flew through a stop sign, crossing 6 lanes of traffic. Austin turned off to follow the car and get the license plate number, but the car had no plates, so he backed off to avoid any confrontation. Mike had parked his Model Y on the streets of Chicago one night when Sentry Mode captured this incident. He got a notification in the Tesla app that his alarm had gone off, but he couldn't check on his car until an hour later. By then, the other driver had left, so Mike called the police and they asked him to come into the station since they don't send officers to investigate hit-and-run accidents. He told them he had it all on video, and they asked if the license plate number was visible. Unfortunately, the car didn't have any license plates on it. After hearing that, they didn't even care to see the video or try to identify the guy. They gave him a report number, and his insurance is covering the incident with no questions asked, since the video shows it all. The repair bill is estimated to be $6,000 US, and that's before they check to see if there's any unseen damage. Mike had a friend of a friend in law enforcement who heard the story and pulled the security footage of nearby businesses and confirmed that the vehicle had no license plates. The vehicle couldn't be followed on footage after it turned down a street with no cameras. Kalelo was heading west on California State Route 38 when he was surprised to see a car coming straight at him. At first, he thought the other driver would back down and merge back into his lane, but he didn't, turning it into a game of chicken. The other driver took to the shoulder, and Kalelo was able to squeeze between the two other cars. Mike was supercharging his Model X in Springfield, Virginia, when Sentry Mode caught this lead-footed driver on the nearby road. The action starts a few seconds into the video, and we found the perfect supercharger soundtrack to listen to while we wait.
I'm at the supercharger, that's where you will find me. Juicing for the supercharger. Waiting, having fun. Supercharger. Feeling like a number one.
Here we witness a Mustang driver with a heavy lead foot losing control. What a great music video. John was driving his Model 3 when this speeding Ford pickup startled a Honda Civic driver and caused him to swerve into a Model S. Hashtag Honda Bump. John pulled over with them and got their email addresses so he could send them the TeslaCam video. Unfortunately, he only had this phone recording of the Tesla's screen. We've made a guide on how to export and view TeslaCam videos using your phone. Be sure to check it out with the link in the description if you want to become a TeslaCam Pro. Uzi was exiting a garage in the Hollywood neighborhood of Los Angeles, California when the TeslaCam of his Model 3 caught this scene. This looks like it was taken straight out of a Hollywood comedy. A guy on a bike tried to exit the garage at the same time as the cars, but the garage had other ideas. Wham bam, watch your head, man. This is our first video from Belarus. It's from Artem, who had just moved to Belarus from San Francisco, California. He brought his Model 3 Performance with him and finally had a chance to drive it in the snow. We know this isn't technically a TeslaCam video, but Artem said it brought a big smile to his face, and it brought smiles to ours too. This looks like a ton of fun.
Hi, I'm Wham Bam. Welcome to Tesla Cam.
Oh my God.
Ed was driving his 2-week-old Model Y in San Francisco, California, doing about 70 miles per hour on the freeway when this Honda Civic came up behind him. The initial impact caused Ed to spin to the left. Then the vehicles locked together, causing a spin to the right. The Honda then bounced off the center divider and hit Ed again, as we can see in the right camera, causing him to spin back the other way. The front camera shows Ed's perspective, as well as the reason why, if you're going to be in an accident, you want to be driving a Tesla. Notice the minimal body lean and quick recovery, which can be attributed to the low center of gravity, 50-50 weight distribution, and superior stability control response time of an electric drivetrain. Ed says it was the best spin-out scenario he could imagine and that he barely felt the impact, since the Model Y weighs 4,400 pounds, about twice as much as the Civic. Ed got out and asked the Civic driver if he was okay, and he responded by asking Ed if he had changed lanes and hit him, as if the accident had been his fault. It turns out that the driver of the Honda was under the influence, and he ended up being taken away in handcuffs. #HondaBump. Ed's insurance company is trying to determine if his Model Y is totaled. Alan was visiting a friend's house on Christmas Eve in Buckeye, Arizona. Around that time, messages were popping up on neighborhood social apps about criminals stealing and vandalizing cars. A red Dodge Ram missing its tailgate pulled right up to his Tesla with 4 people in it. 2 of them got out, and one of them urinated on the front while waving to his buddy in the construction vest to start slashing the tires. Construction vest guy managed to slash one tire before the car alarm went off. Alan ran out quickly, and by the time he saw them, they were already speeding off. Alan called the police, and they initially started chasing the vandals, but when they made it to the freeway, the officers were told to terminate the pursuit, since the chase had gone out of their jurisdiction. Alan has shared their pictures on social media and has a few promising leads, but he hasn't received any updates from the police yet. The same day, other reports came in when other people in the area came out to their cars to find flat tires. Alan was one of the first to find out about the vandals, thanks to his Tesla notifying him immediately. The offenders seemed to target specific cars, with the Mustang on the same street also having its tires slashed. This all happened on North 310th Avenue in the Tartesso community. Alan is hoping that the Wham Bam community can help him figure out who these guys are. They're suspected to be from the nearby city of Tonopah, Arizona. If you know anything about them or these incidents, contact the Buckeye Police Department or send us an email and we'll forward it to Alan. Before we roll this video, we need to give a warning for people at risk for epilepsy. There are a lot of flashing lights in this one. Willie was driving his Model S in San Antonio, Texas, when he noticed this police cruiser slowing down to take a look at the white Buick on his left. Willie noticed the driver was on his phone, and the police cruiser instantly lit him up for it. This is a good reminder to always keep your eyes on the road and your hands off your phone. This submitter from the UK was driving along on a road with a 50-mile-per-hour speed limit when a Model 3 overtook him on a blind bend, causing him to brake hard. Luckily, he was going well below the speed limit, so he was able to avoid an accident. The driver was given a formal warning after the submitter sent the footage to the police. David was driving home in his Model 3 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, when he was sideswiped while driving along in slow-moving traffic. He never thought he would be sideswiped by a driver in the safest vehicle on the road, a Volvo. Police responded to the accident and an insurance claim was filed. The Volvo driver's insurance paid for $2,800 in repairs. While this emitter was driving home over the Pali Highway in Hawaii, it was raining and very windy. Someone's trash bags had flown out of their pickup and were left on the roadway. Suddenly, a large tree on the opposite side of the road broke and fell across the lanes, almost reaching the submitter's lane and landing on his Tesla. Thankfully, only leaves and small branches landed on his windshield, and no damage was discovered after he got home. Only after reviewing the footage did he notice that the cars on the opposite side of the road must have been hit by the tree or had caused a multi-vehicle accident. This submitter was driving his Model Y on the Pennsylvania Turnpike when this event occurred and was recorded with an aftermarket dash cam installed in the Tesla. Although the truck was signaling to merge left, there was no traffic behind the submitter and he didn't want to be slowed down by a truck going uphill, so he didn't slow down to let the truck in front of him. The trucker decided he didn't want to wait either, so he put the squeeze on the submitter, forcing him to slam on his brakes. The submitter says he's considering contacting the Pennsylvania State Police with the video, since merging vehicles don't have the right-of-way. This is our first video from Iceland. Take a look at these scenic routes. At the end of a summer vacation with his family, Addy was driving in northern Iceland, making his way home to Reykjavik. These roads tend to hug the hills and mountains, and there are many places where drivers have very reduced visibility of oncoming traffic. Addy says it's not the best place to pass other cars. Another driver was a bit too impatient and they almost collided head-on. Fortunately, thanks to good reflexes, both Addy and the other driver managed to avoid a collision. Addy adds that he and his family were quite shocked, but his kids learned a valuable lesson about paying attention to the road. 5 days after taking delivery of his Model Y, Joseph was dropping off his buddy at his parents' house. A car was stopped in front of him and he was about to go around it, but he stopped when he realized it was turning. That's when a Honda rear-ended him. Hashtag Honda bump. Joseph pulled over and called the police and waited in his car. He asked the officer if the other driver was okay, and he responded by saying the other driver was upset. Joseph isn't sure if the other driver was upset with him or with himself, because Joseph's friend heard him telling the officer that Joseph had stopped in the middle of the road. After viewing the footage from the Tesla cam, the officer said he'd seen everything he needed to see. The other car was a total loss. Although the damage didn't look extensive, it took almost 2 months to fix Joseph's Tesla. The Honda driver's insurance paid for all the repairs and for a rental car. Joseph says he thinks the other driver may have been on his phone. The paramedics and firefighters were amazed at the quality of the footage from the Tesla cam and were asking all sorts of questions about the car. The firefighters asked Joseph if there was a way to turn off the car, and he told them he wasn't sure. They were asking in case they needed to use the jaws of life or had to pry a Tesla open. They said they're starting to see an increase of Teslas around and wanted to know more about them. Joseph confesses that he couldn't answer all of their questions as he'd only had his car for 5 days. Sarah spent 3 days in California with her Model 3. She sent us these videos of her trying to survive the infamous California drivers. In this video, we see a Nissan Versa rear-ending a Dodge Challenger when traffic was slowing down on the highway. And here she spotted a Honda driver, this time not bumping into anyone. However, it did run a red light to make this turn. Eric was driving to work in his Model Y on I-90 near North Bend in Washington when out of the woods came 2 elk and a close call. Max was waiting for a green light in Tyrol, Austria, when he noticed a blue light in his rearview mirror. It turned out to be a police chase in progress. Keith was driving his Model 3 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when a car in the neighboring lane of I-35 hit some sand barrels. From Keith's point of view, there was a large cloud of sand that shot across his lane. After getting out of his car, he learned the driver was okay. He started to clean up some of the debris after he noticed it was blocking traffic. After double-checking that everyone was safe, Keith left so traffic could start moving again. This submitter was driving his Model Y in Long Island, New York, when he came across this ATV in the first snow of the season. We can't wait for the Tesla Cyberquad videos. Charles was driving his Model 3 in Denver, Colorado, when the person in front of him nearly got hit by this individual coming off the E470 toll road. He was on his way to look at a Honda Pilot for his daughter. That makes us worried. Charles, you need to rethink this. This near miss might have been a #Honda bump sign. Roger was waiting at a traffic light in his Model 3 in Huntington Beach, California. Once the light turned green, he hit the accelerator and this happened. He didn't notice the Mercedes-Benz running the red light. His foot was on the accelerator, but the car detected the imminent collision and stopped automatically. Surprisingly, there was a police cruiser right next to Roger, but evidently he didn't feel the need to give the Mercedes driver a ticket. This submitter was driving his Model Y in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. When he'd stopped for a red light, it looks like Ken Block pulled up behind him in an Infiniti. Joking aside, the real Ken Block would have probably made a donut around the Tesla. Luckily, this minor slide turned out okay. Tyler was in a drive-thru when he noticed this woman park her car, quickly get out, and run inside. Tyler kept looking at her car because she had parked over the line, which annoyed him. Suddenly, he noticed it starting to roll backwards with nobody in it. Seeing a car driving with nobody inside is something Tyler has become used to with Summon, but this time it wasn't a Tesla. He got out of his car and tried to get the woman's attention, but she was already inside the restaurant. After moving his car out of the way, Tyler got out and stopped her runaway car. He then ran inside to tell her that her car was sitting in the middle of the street. At last, she wrangled the wild car. Nicely done, Tyler. Hey guys, if you can see that red subscribe button, that means you're not subscribed to the Wham Bam channel yet. It would mean the world to us if you would do that, so please hit that subscribe button. Thanks.
Oh Lord, won't you buy me a cyber?
That, Tyler. Hey guys, if you can see that red subscribe.
Wham, bam, Tesla Cam. I hope you're satisfied.
Marisol was driving her 2020 Model Y Performance one early morning in Visalia, California, when all of a sudden an oncoming vehicle drifted into her lane. All her airbags deployed before she even knew what happened. As she attempted to pull to the right, airbags surrounded her like a Baymax hug. Looking out the window, she saw a tire rolling and thought her own Tesla's tire had ripped off. It actually turned out to be the tire of the vehicle that hit her, a Chevy Malibu. The left camera was hit straight on and stopped working on impact. The driver of the other vehicle took off on foot into some nearby orchards before the police arrived. Police are still investigating, and insurance has yet to determine if they'll be repairing her vehicle or writing it off as a total loss. Marisol purchased her Model Y as an early birthday gift for herself. She says it certainly paid off, as it may have saved her life. The Tesla Cam footage also proved to her insurance and the police who was at fault. Marisol named her car Zeus and took this picture in case this was the last time they saw each other. Charlie posted this angle of his car accident on Instagram, where it garnered over 100,000 views. The majority of the viewers said it was Charlie's fault. He shared the video with us along with the full story. This Mustang started to drift into his lane, hit him, and crashed into the barrier. We can see clearly that Charlie was within his own lane when this happened. Here's the view from the front camera, and it looks like Charlie is drifting, but it's actually just a curve in the highway. He was going straight in his own lane when the Mustang almost hit him with a pit maneuver. Here's the view from the rear camera. Charlie was driving with the cruise control set at 65 miles per hour, and from this angle we can see the Mustang start to drift into his lane. Let's listen to his own commentary of what happened.
The Mustang hits the back of us, starts sending us spinning a little bit to the left. He bounces off us and goes into like one of those white like walls that like protect construction sites, and he just fully goes airborne. Like all four tires go off the road at one point. And then when he comes crashing down, sparks start flying. As soon as I get over the shoulder, I'm literally driving in the shoulder of the freeway against traffic, because I've got to go back and like see if this Mustang driver needs help. Like the car could be on fire. Like who knows? All the worst things are running through my head. I just know like I need to get back there, to see if they're okay. So once I get there, there's a few cars stopped. Since he's in the fast lane on the freeway, there's cars literally like speeding up and like slamming on their brakes. Like I hear tires screeching of people almost hitting this guy a second time just because he's at a dead stop on the freeway. Sam was really cool. She immediately knew to call the police to get them out because this was just not a safe situation. And it took like, I was impressed. It probably took like 4 minutes for them to come out, and they literally had like the entire freeway like stopped at one point. They had a pilot cop car just going over and like swerving in front of everyone with the lights on. So like literally like it was 5 or 6 lanes of traffic just stopped. Everyone was 100% okay. I actually didn't even get to talk to the driver from this crash. When the police came, they interviewed both of us, and I got his insurance information through them. It seems very likely that someone was watching out for us that night. For the freeway to be shut down and for no one to be injured, that is just, we were very lucky.
Sergey was driving his Model 3 when the driver in front of him lost both left tires on the rear axle. Sergey was lucky to avoid one of the tires after it headed straight for him. The other tire just kept rolling, finally free from that rear axle. This clip's submitter was stopping his Model 3 at a red light in Fremont, California when this Mercedes rear-ended a Toyota SUV. Behind him, there's another Model 3. It's too bad we don't have his Tesla Cam footage. We'd be able to hire Michael Bay to cut back and forth between different camera angles of the action. The submitter of this clip was driving his Model 3 in the Bronx, New York, when a truck veered into his lane and took off his passenger side mirror. As soon as he saw the truck moving into his lane, he hit the brakes and prayed. He wasn't using autopilot at the time of the accident. The submitter kept driving up to the truck and trying to get the driver's attention, but he never stopped. We can see that this truck driver already has some Mad Max damage to his bumper. The submitter even tried going further ahead to stop and wave him over in bumper-to-bumper traffic, but he just kept on trucking. We see the submitter doing some classic New Yorker hand signaling to the driver behind the truck, who also saw what happened. He's filing a police report to get his insurance to pay for the mirror. The quote from Tesla to fix the mirror is about $700 US, including labor. The submitter of this video was driving his Model 3 Performance into a tunnel in Norway. When he turned on his high beams, he didn't expect to see this. This is the 20th century version of rolling coal, from before Dodge Ram co-opted the name of these animals. Fortunately, these old-school polluters ran by him at the last minute and finally let him escape the tunnel. Steven was driving home from a party when this guy popped out of nowhere. Autopilot was engaged, but it looks like Steven reacted before autopilot could. Slamming on the brakes, he swerved around the guy safely. Autopilot never gave any warnings. Steven confirms there was nobody behind him, so the guy could have easily waited another few seconds to cross. It would have still been illegal jaywalking, but it certainly would have been safer. Michael was driving his Model 3 into Penn Square when this woman started crossing against the red light. Slowing down, he let her get out of his way before starting to accelerate again. That's when she stopped halfway, almost like she regretted crossing. Then she turned around in the middle of the crosswalk. On his way home, this submitter noticed this truck slowing down on the highway. He didn't know if he was having engine issues or getting ready to roll coal. He decided to floor it and pass the truck in seconds, taking the off-ramp to his exit. He owns one of maybe 5 Teslas in his small remote town, so most people don't even know what the car is. They just think it's cool, but this person, maybe not. Tony had just installed an auto frunk mod that allows him to open the frunk automatically. He decided to go to a local burger joint to try it out. Will was driving his Model 3 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania when the Rough Riders pulled out in front of him. We wonder if the Rough Riders will end up getting a Tesla Cyberquad.
My name is Daisy Robinson. As a scientist, I'm using my mind to take on challenges with the body.
Brian was driving his 2-week-old Model Y when the mud flaps of a semi-truck just flew off and broke into pieces. A small piece hit his windshield, but fortunately it didn't do any damage. Brian checked the front bumper and only noticed a few tiny chips in the paint. He bought a Tesla paint repair kit since the damage was too minimal to report to insurance and he didn't want his premiums to increase. After Brian pulled into a drive-thru, the truck driver ahead of him apparently decided he didn't want to order anything and started backing up, hitting Brian. After the accident, they swapped information and went on their way. The truck driver then proceeded to avoid contacting his insurance until Brian gave them his Tesla Cam video, and even then the insurance claim stalled. After a week or so, Brian started digging into the other driver. The truck he was driving was a company vehicle, and Brian contacted his employer on LinkedIn and sent them the YouTube link to the same video he submitted to the insurance company. Once Brian started rustling the bushes, magically the insurance claim started to make progress. Skylar was driving along and started to slow down to wait for traffic so he could make a left turn. The guy behind him evidently didn't have the patience for that, taking a detour down the oncoming lane and nearly hitting a motorcyclist. Predictably and understandably, the motorcyclist flipped them off. The submitter gas-powered Tesla, whose username might have inspired Rich Rebuilds to take on that V8 Model S build, is actually a moderator for the Tesla Cam Hub on Discord. We want to thank him for his help with that. He was driving his Model 3 in Las Vegas when the car in front of him unexpectedly slowed down to about 5 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. Either the driver was looking at that airplane or he wanted to jump across to the exit. Either way, gas-powered Tesla says it was a scary experience to say the least. Adelino was driving his Model Y in Rancho Cordova, California. He approached this red light where he saw a Model 3 get attacked with a soda by the passenger of a Ford. The guy in the Ford seems like a super friendly guy that you would definitely want to have an encounter with during a pandemic, so we can't understand why the driver of the Model 3 hit the accelerator and left the scene. Adelino thinks this was a retaliation for a late lane change that the Model 3 made earlier, but he isn't sure.
Check this out. I just got IT certified from home after only 4 months of attending.
George was driving his Model 3 home in Barcelona, Spain when he spotted Saturn, Jupiter, and the Moon in the sky all at once. It's called a Great Conjunction and only happens every 400 years. This one was recorded on December 16th, 2020. What a great ending to such a terrible year.